my main contribution was the written content for section 1.0, 1.1, 1.2, and 1.2 of the report. In section 1.0, I presented the introduction of the study by explaining the background of the topic and the importance of analyzing verb usage in academic writing. This session clearly stated the aim of the study and established a formal and objective academic tone, allowing readers to understand the focus and relevance of the research from the beginning. In section 1.1, I explained the purpose of the study and described the sampling frame used for the analyzing. The sampling frame used for the analysis. This session clarified why the selected sources were appropriate and how specific sentences were chosen for grammatical analysis. As a result, the scope and basis of the analysis were clearly defined. In section 1.2, I described source A, which is an academic article, and justify its suitability for analyzing verb usage in formal written English. The explanation focused on linguistic features such as register and grammatical characteristics rather than content alone. Overall, this section provided a clear foundation for the report by defining the aim of the study and the scope of analysis and the relevance of the selected sources.
In this study, we use clear inclusion and exclusion criteria to make sure our data is relevant and reliable for linguistic analysis. We include English materials in both written and spoken forms. For written text, this includes academic sources such as Obesity in Adults published by Elsevier under the Lancet Publishing Group. For spoken data, we also include materials like the BBC World Service podcast, How to Get Your Best Night's Sleep, available on YouTube. All selected materials must be at least 150 words long and show clear morphosynthetic features that can be analyzed. This helps ensure that there is enough language data for meaningful analysis. However, not all materials are suitable. We exclude AI-generated texts that are not properly disclosed, machine-translated text when the original version is unavailable, and highly edited marketing content that lacks sentence variety. We also exclude any content that cannot be quoted, even briefly, due to copyright restrictions. Overall, these criteria help us build a dataset that is ethical, transparent, and generally useful for linguistic research.
Hi everyone, in this video, I'm going to briefly share my findings for section 3.1, which focus on verb usage in the selected sentence from source A, an academic article on obesity. For this analysis, I look at four main aspects: subject-verb agreement, tense, aspect, and voice. First, let me talk about subject-verb agreement. Based on my analysis, all 7 sentences shows correct agreement between the subject and the verb. Singular subjects are consistently followed by singular verbs, and plural subjects use plural verbs. There are no grammatical errors in terms of agreement, which shows that the academic article maintains a high level of grammatical accuracy. Next, I analyze tense usage. Interestingly, all 7 sentences are written in the present tense, which makes up 100% of the data. There is no past tense used at all. This is very common in academic writing because the present tense is used to present information that is generally valid, factual, and still relevant at this time of writing, rather than focusing on past events. Moving on to aspect, I found two main types used in the text, the simple aspect and the perfect aspect. The simple aspect is used in sentences that describe general facts or stable conditions, such as defining obesity or explaining treatment approaches. On the other hand, the perfect aspect is used to show development that start in the past but still have relevance now. For example, when discussing increasing obesity rates or progress in treatment. Overall, the perfect aspect is likely more frequent, accounting for 57%, while the simple aspect makes up 43%. There is no progressive aspect, which suggests the article focuses more on established findings rather than ongoing actions. Lastly, I look at voice. Most of the sentences are written in the active voice, which makes up 71% of the data. Only 29% are in the passive voice. This shows that the article prefers clarity and directness, while still using passive voice when necessary, to emphasize processes or outcome instead of the do. Overall, my findings shows that the academic article uses verb forms consistently and effectively. The use of present tense, correct agreement, appropriate aspect, and selective voice contributes to a clear, objective, and formal academic tone.
The grammatical analysis present 4 discusses the use of tense, aspect, voice, and subject-verb agreement in the dataset. This discussion explains how these grammatical features function in an academic context. From the analysis, show that the present tense is used more frequently than other tenses. This indicates that most of clauses in the dataset are used to express general statements and information that remain relevant at the time of writing. In academic writing, the present tense is commonly used to describe key elements of a study, provide background information, and summarize previous research findings.
The findings in this section present the distribution of tense, aspect, voice, and subject-verb agreement in source B. The dataset consists of 7 sentences extracted from a spoken podcast. The tense distribution shows that past tense occurs most frequently, with 4 instances accounting for 57.14% of the data. Present tense appears in 2 instances, representing 28.57%, while present perfect tense occurs once, only accounting for 14.29%. The total number of tense tokens identified is 7. In terms of aspect, 5 aspect tokens are identified. The simple aspect occurs twice, accounting for 40% of the data. The perfect aspect appears once, representing 20%. Perfect continuous aspect also occurs once at 20%, and progressive continuous aspect occurs once, contributing the remaining 20%. The findings on voice show that all 7 clauses are realized in the active voice, accounting for 100% of the dataset. No passive constructions are identified. Finally, the findings on subject-verb agreement indicate that all 7 clauses demonstrate correct agreement. This results in 100% correct subject-verb agreement, with no instances of incorrect agreement observed.
In this analysis, I examined how tense, aspect, voice, and subject-verb agreements are used in an academic podcast. First, the findings show that the present tense is used most frequently. This indicates that speakers mainly explains ideas, share experiences, and present information that is relevant to listeners.
The present tense helps make explanations clear and engaging, allowing listeners to connect new information to their existing knowledge. In terms of aspect, the simple aspect is preferred over the progressive and perfect aspects. This suggests that actions and states are usually presented directly and efficiently, which helps maintain audience attentions. More complex aspects are used only when speakers want to highlight ongoing processes or the relevance of past events. All sentences in the podcast use the active voice with no passive constructions. This supports clear and direct communications and reflects the interactive nature of spoken academic discourse. Finally, subject-verb agreement is consistently accurate, showing strong grammatical control. Overall, these patterns demonstrate that academic podcasts prioritize clarity, accuracy, and audience engagement.
To support this stance, we refer to both academic research and reliable digital source, which consistently emphasize clarity, objectivity, and professionalism as key features of formal academic writing. Studies in grammar show that academic texts often rely on simple and direct grammatical choices. For instance, Biber et al. 1999 explained that writers commonly use the present tense, simple aspect, and active voice to present information in a neutral and factual way. These forms help ideas come across clearly and make complex information easier for a reader to follow in a similar way. Huddleston and Pullum 2022 point out that unmarked grammatical forms such as the present tense are preferred in academic writing because they allow information to be presented in a stable and systematic manner. This helps writers organize their ideas logically while reducing ambiguity and improving reader understanding. This perspective is also supported by digital academic resources. The Purdue Online Writing Lab recommends using the present tense for general statements and the active voice to improve clarity. Using the present tense helps frame ideas as relevant and current, while the active voice makes sentences sound more direct and easier to understand. By following these guidelines, writers can communicate their ideas more effectively and meet the expectations of academic audiences.